A new generation
is coming to power.
I feel better about that. This is the generation he likes to call we, born between 1978 and 2000. He is aggressively trying to mold 95 million young minds into a massive, collective, progressive voting bloc. It would fundamentally transform America. Watch.
We are more globally oriented.
We're more ethnically diverse.
We're more technologically adept.
better educated,
less politically partisan,
and we're the first generation in American history
to inherit a nation
in decline.
Wow. More globally oriented. Stop with your patriotic nonsense, Grandma. We're building a global citizen here. There's no need for U.S. sovereignty. That's for like old people, you know, like people over like 40. Like, I mean, hello. Remember, Eric in his book, Clown Show. He's having minimal impact, but it's a pattern, and you can find it everywhere, and it's permeating our schools. It is a message that is found throughout the progressive movement, that your children are better educated. I thought our schools were breaking down. How could they be better educated? They're smarter than you, just naturally, somehow or another, smarter than you. You can't begin to understand the things that, well, they do. You're not capable. I was also moved here by the less politically partisan line that was spoken here, when absolutely every line in this abomination is partisan leftist propaganda. Now, let's find out why they're the only generation to inherit a nation in decline. Watch this.
Some of us are losing our homes.
Our dependence on fossil fuels
Has polluted our environment.
Our water is contaminated.
and our health is endangered.
Oh boy. First of all, I hate anybody to lose their home, but could there be a reason for it? Oh, I know. Your uneducated dad, he probably just not smart enough to hold down a job or join a union. I mean, he's probably much older than 25. And then there's the environmental hogwash. I don't know about you, but I just can't get enough of this discredited hoax. Our water is contaminated. Really, let me show you this. Hey kids, do you know what this is? The Cuyahoga River. It's a shame that this generation is just too young to remember this fire right off Lake Erie. Yeah, that's contamination. Water so polluted it bursts into flame. How do you put it out? It's water on fire. Before you start sending your tweets, I know. It is the Cuyahoga River in Cleveland that spontaneously burst into flames, not Lake Erie. Still, let me show you this. I was reading this book the other night, and I read this and I thought, oh my gosh. This is a book called Conquering Gotham, and it's all about building the railroads and what it took and everything else. It's a fascinating book. But in the very beginning of it, it talks about they're coming over here to Manhattan on a barge. And there's this little journal entry from about 1890. It says, today all went smoothly, the ferry engines slowing as the vessel nestled expertly into the railroad dock, where the oily river, full of refuse, bits of wood, straw from barges, bottles, boxes, paper, occasionally a dead cat or dog, hideously bladder-like, its four paws stiff and indignant towards heaven, lapped at the pier. Really? You guys are the first? This is the first generation to have polluted water? The point is, our lakes, rivers, streams, virtually all waterways are much cleaner now in America than they were 20, 30, 40, 100 years ago. Fire! It's on fire! Why isn't it on fire today? Because our standards are higher. As is awareness. Companies can't just dump wastewater into supply water anymore. I mean, unless you're doing business in China, you don't do that. Nearly everything that we do now is cleaner than ever before. I'm tired. I am tired of people feeding my children this tripe, the lies. As a parent, I've got 4 kids. Aren't you a little shocked when people use our children this way? Some of these kids on this video are 10 years old. So what are you going to do? Well, it is important to know about brainwashing. Because they're brainwashing your kids. And if we lose this generation, if we don't teach them the correct principles, we will lose the republic in the next generation. I want to show you some stuff. We haven't even started. I want to show you some stuff that will hopefully shock you. And in the commercial breaks, I want you to call your friends up and say, can you turn on Glenn Beck? Can you watch this show? Watch this and ask your kids. Ask your kids. Get your butt in here and watch and ask them, have they seen any of the kind of stuff that we're talking about tonight? And if so, call up your school board, call up your principal and say, knock it off. More coming up. At the top of the show, I mentioned there was a national education rally yesterday. It was billed as a campaign to save education in America. Well, who's not for that? Some of the protesters probably genuinely care about the future of education in this country, but I assure you, those who organized and coordinated this event care even more, but not for the same reasons. Their motive had nothing to do with budget cuts and everything to do with social justice and Marxism. I want to show you a couple of the posters that they put up. Defend public services. Defend public education. Students and workers unite. Wow, workers unite. Get up and stand for an education. Education is a right. SDS. This is where the underground bomber came from. The Weather Underground, the bombers in the 1960s came from that group. This one, save public education. Keep the doors open. Really. Protect your education. And by the looks of it, they need an education here, don't they? Look at this one. Protect your education. Education is a human right. Really? Yeah. Education. Oh, Dave put a upside down exclamation point supposed to be on that end. No. It's weird because that's almost like it's appealing to people who speak Spanish, isn't it? But notice the smaller print here. Resist, mobilize, transform. What does that have to do with budget cuts and teachers? And doesn't it sound and look eerily reminiscent of communist propaganda? I mean, look at that. Look at that. Wow. Have you seen any kind of socialist propaganda like that before? Communist propaganda? They look at all alike. Look at the angry student in this picture. I mean, looks like she got the resist memo, or maybe her teacher just wouldn't let her text her BFF during class. I don't know. Let me go back a minute here to Eric's book and video. Again, I'd show you the real one, but I'm not going to sell another book for this guy. And it's not his book anyway. It's the agenda that I want to highlight because it's everywhere. It's not just him. He's a clown. But I want to highlight the agenda. Watch this.
Even though they live in the world's wealthiest nation, Generation We are inheriting a damaged future and a set of potentially catastrophic problems. But we have every reason to be optimistic.
Really? Do tell. What are we optimistic about? Here again, Eric.
These kids identify themselves as strongly progressive and are fed up with partisan politics.
She is? What is she, 13? Imagine my unbridled optimism now. They identify themselves as strongly progressive. Some of the kids in the video are 10, and they identify themselves as strongly progressive? You're not putting those words in their mouth, are you there, Eric? These kids are also fed up with partisan politics. Wow, fed up with it. I don't know what I was fed up with when I was 10. Speed Racer wasn't on every day? What? So what was the theme of this protest yesterday? Protect your education. The posters said nothing of budget cuts. Instead, they proclaimed, defend public services. Defend public services. And education is a right. Education is a right. You know what? Eric is right. That is a nonpartisan issue. Because before the progressive movement, when we were all tethered to our Constitution, not a single Republican or a single Democrat would claim that education was a right. We were educated enough to know better on our own policies. But the school system, they've erased all of that. We don't even teach our Constitution anymore. This is a glimpse of what lies beneath all of it. It is easy to attract people to a cause seemingly as noble as save an education. Who sits there and says, I'm against education. I want kids to be big fat dummy dum-dums. Nobody. But education is not a right, it's a privilege. How many of our students even look at that right as a privilege? They sit there, they don't listen. Because they don't have to earn it. Unless you earn it, you don't value it. If something's given to you, you don't value it.